So this is going to be a declutter / makeup collection video. I did one of these like a super long time ago and haven't done one since. I don't know how much decluttering there actually is going to be, but I actually know I'm going to get rid of a lot of lip products. So I'm not going to dilly-dally. I'm going to go ahead and get started. And just FYI, I will be doing all my makeup, my perfume, and my brushes. So I'll try to put timestamps down wherever I can so that you can see it. Okay, let me just make sure I'm recording. Okay, so I'm gonna start with these. These are the Nude Sticks Nudie lip products. I have the Nude Sticks Lip and Cheek Pencil in the shade Whisper and in the shade Pixie. I actually like both of these, so I am gonna keep them, at least for now. They're both just like really pinky nude colors. If you've seen any of my declutters, you know that I keep these. They have sentimental value. So I'm going to keep that, and I'm also going to keep this as well. Again, it's sentimental. I don't wear them. They're super old, but I still keep them for sentimental reasons. I only have 2 lip liners. I have ColourPop Lippy Pencil in the shade BFF3, which is like a deeper brown, which is good for like deeper reds or anything like that. I'm keeping it, as well as the Patrick Ta lip liner in the shade She's Proud. I posted about this on Instagram. I've talked about it before. I love it. It's my favorite lip liner ever. I got this 3-pack from IPSY. It's the Dr. Lip Superfood. It's the Dr. Lip Superfood tints. I'm really not a fan of these. I don't like them. They call these multi-used. I don't find them multi-used. I find them, you can put them on your lips and that's about it. And I just don't like them. I have 2 that I haven't used or swatched. Actually, wait, do I? I have 1 that I haven't used or swatched. So I'm going to put that aside, but I'm going to have to toss these because obviously you don't want to like sell or give away used lip products. Let's go through some bold lip colors first. I haven't tried these yet, so I do want to keep them. It's the Maybelline Superstay in Globetrotter, which is like a pumpkin-y orange, and then I have tried this. It's the CoverGirl Outlast Ultra Matte, and I want to keep that as well. A couple that I am gonna get rid of though, I'm gonna get rid of the Wet n Wild in Oh My Dolly, and then the Jeffree Star in Watermelon Soda. One of them's too old, one of them I don't support the brand anymore. You can kind of take that information with what you will. Definitely going to keep the Stunner lip paint because I get compliments every single time I wear it. And this is like really old. It doesn't smell bad, but I've just realized like with wearing a mask and stuff, I'm not motivated to wear lip product even when I can. So like I don't need all this lip stuff. So I don't really need like lip tints. This is super similar, so I'm going to keep the Honest Beauty one, which is in the shade, it's like an orangey shade, but it doesn't even come across that orange. I'm going to get rid of the Peach Pout. And then I have several lip glosses that are just like, oh, maybe I just have a couple that are just clear. I'm actually going to get rid of the Milani one and keep the Ultra Glossy one just because it's older and I just think it's time. This is the only like mauve liquid lipstick I have, so I am going to keep it. And I do like this. This is the Velvet Blur. And it's in the shade 21 Questions from ColourPop, and I'm going to keep that. Part of me really wants to keep this because I feel like it's a brand that's super underrated, but I also feel like I don't necessarily need it. It's the shade Nob Hill Red from Finding Ferdinand, and who knows how long we'll still be wearing masks for. Plus I have this, which isn't a dry down liquid matte lipstick, so I don't know, but I really like it, so I'm going to keep it. And then this is the Just a Tint from ColourPop. It's just like a plain color, but I do like it, so I am going to keep it. I have 2 of these from Burt's Bees, and I don't need both of them. So I think I'm going to get rid of the color Tidal Taupe and keep Niagara Nude. Those are also pretty old as well. I'm going to keep this NYX Better Gloss because it hasn't been opened, even though it does look kind of grody. You know what, that does look kind of gross, doesn't it? I'm going to get rid of that. I don't need both of these. Oh wait, did I already get rid of one? Yeah, no I didn't. I don't need both of these e.l.f. colors. I have this one. It's in the shade Nectar. And then I think this is the one that I actually like. Yeah, this is the one I like. I like to mix them, but I don't necessarily need to. They're also only $3. I think I'm going to keep them. I'm going to keep this one from Whitney Simmons. It's the Bare Nude shade, and it's just a peachy nude. Big shock. In terms of liquid lips, I am actually going to get rid of the Kylie Velvet in Commando because I have the Ultra Satin in She Cute, which is a very similar color, and I much rather support ColourPop. I also have the shade Lolita from Kat Von D. I bought it strictly because it's a super matte liquid lipstick, which I wanted. It's actually not Kat Von D either, it's KVD. Even though they rebranded, they call themselves KVD Vegan Beauty, but it still says Kat Von D on it. So I don't know what to say about that. This Patrick Ta is my favorite. It's in the shade She's an Influencer. It's my all-time favorite gloss. I will be keeping it for sure. I will also be keeping the Glossier Generation G in Leo. It's just like a nude brown. And as long as this one is still good, I'll keep it. I'm not gonna lie, there's like some weird ass like little spots on it. I still really like it, so against my better judgment, I'm gonna keep it. This is in the shade What's Your Sign? It's a cream from ColourPop, and it's my all-time favorite lipstick ever. And this one's fairly new, but it's a gloss from the Ulta Beauty brand. It's from their Harry Potter collection. I have no idea what the shade is, but it's just like a baby pink, and I really like it, so I'm keeping it. So I'm going to put my bolds in here and everything else on this side. Okay, so everything else in my lip drawer was nail polish, which I'm going to save for last. So in the next drawer, I have foundation, concealer, setting sprays, primers, and then some bits and bobs. I'm not getting rid of anything here, but I do want to mention some things. First, I have the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation. This is one of my newer favorite foundations. That's my self-tan shade, and then that's my normal shade. And I really, really love this. I'm definitely keeping it. It has a slight scent, but the formula is just gorgeous and beautiful. It's like the perfect everyday foundation if you still like coverage. So I'm definitely keeping this. I think I'm keeping all these. And then I also have this. This is just a Pro Foundation Mixer. I'm keeping that as well. And then I'm talking about these together even though they're a little bit different. I have the IT Cosmetics CC Cream and then the Bye Bye Foundation. The formulas of these are so similar that I don't consider them... Stefan, thank you so much. I don't consider them different. There's no difference in coverage, texture, anything like that. So I think you're better off getting the Bye Bye Foundation because I believe there's more shades in that, whereas there's not as many shades in the CC Cream. But I've gone through multiple tubes of this. It's one of my favorite foundations. I love it. Just keep that in mind. So I've kept this around for so long and I've always liked it, but it's super matte, which I've enjoyed like during the pandemic, wearing a mask and all that stuff. But since I've been wearing the Maybelline Fit Me again, I don't really have a need for the Bare Minerals Bare Pro anymore. This is also just like uncomfortable on the skin, whereas I don't find the Fit Me to be as uncomfortable. And I don't find this, like, I don't find it any more or less transfer proof, so I'd rather just stick with the Maybelline. And then plus this is super old, so like it's probably not good for my skin anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And then lastly, I have the Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue. It's like a tinted hydrating gel cream, which is exactly what it says. This is really pretty. It actually has more coverage than you'd think. It is technically a tinted moisturizer. You can put it on with your hands, brush, or fingers, whatever, but it still provides enough coverage where if you have acne or whatever, but you just want a really glowy, easy, no fuss base, this is a really good option. I don't know what the shade range is, to be completely honest, but I still like it and still, you know, wanted to mention it. It's obviously in my collection. This is my foundation, primers, and then setting sprays. So I'll start with primers. This is one of my newer ones. I got it in this month's IPSY bag. It's the Tula Face Filter Blurring Priming Moisturizer. I love this. It has a slight tint to it, so it's really good if you self-tan. But this actually inspired me to revamp my skincare collection because I got 2 Tula products and I'd already tried a Tula product before. And so yeah, this, I really, really love it. Like I said, it does have a slight tint to it. It does need shaken up, and I didn't shake it up before that. But as you can see, it like bursts, and it, you know, it has a tint, so you can almost wear it on its own, but for me it is a bit dark. I don't think it would have been as dark if I had shaken it up. But I really, really like it. It gives a nice glowy base, but it also blurs at the same time. I also got this in an IPSY. It's the Watermelon Burst Hydrating Primer. And what's unique about this is it's more of that like sticky jelly primer, which is really, really nice, but it doesn't dry out your skin or anything like that. So really, really love this. And then these two are nearly identical, but I don't really think I need the Touche Eclat Blur Primer. I don't love it because it has these little glitter particles in it, so I am going to actually get rid of this because I also don't like the scent. But I am going to keep the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer because it's a really good, affordable, pore filling primer, and I think we all need one. So for setting sprays, I'm not getting rid of any of them because I'm almost out of most of them. I have the Found makeup setting spray, which I won't repurchase. It's really just a standard glycerin setting spray. But I would repurchase the Catrice Prime and Fine, which is a more dewy, glowy setting spray. I don't know if it has glitter in it, but when you shake it up, you can't really tell. But it does make your face just look juicy and glowy. But my favorite is the Urban Decay All Nighter. This is the only makeup setting spray that I found that actually sets your makeup all day long. So that's why I keep it around, because you can use it every day. You can use it for special occasions. You don't really need a setting spray every single day. So if you don't want to use one, you don't have to. But I like having this for whether I want to use it every day to like set in makeup, or whether I want to use it for a special occasion. You can use it for both. So these are my bits and bobs and concealers, mascaras, things like that. I am going to start with these. So I don't wear lashes, but I will be competing next year, and I definitely plan on doing my own makeup. So I bought these as kind of practice lashes, and I bought this whole set that had this and some lash glue. So that's why we have all this. I am keeping them. I don't wear false lashes. I don't love false lashes, but I am keeping them. I also got these in my IPSY bag. They're the Tula I Feel Amazing Cooling Eye Gels. I have a couple of them left. And then this is also the drawer where I keep backups, and I have a backup lip mask. I also got this from this month's IPSY, and I love it so much. It's the Seraphine Fruit Butter Lip Mask. It blows the Bite one completely out of the water. Alright, and then in here, I really only use 3 brow products. So I use the Wander Beauty Clear Brow Gel. Honestly, I'll use any brow gel. And then I have the Makeup Revolution Volume and Sculpt Tinted Brow Gel that I use on days when I don't want to use a brow pencil. And for a brow pencil, I always use the Anastasia Brow Wiz in the shade Medium Brown, which I also have a backup of. So that's all I use for my brows. And then I do use an eyeshadow base. I like the LA Girl Pro Primer. I don't think that you necessarily need a super expensive eye primer. And this is a good one to start out. It's like $3 at Ulta. And I think they have different colors of it as well. For mascara, the current one that I'm using is the CoverGirl Exhibitionist. I don't love it. It gets clumpy after like a month, which I don't really love. So I'm probably going to declutter it. Actually, I am going to declutter it. And I'm going to switch to a different mascara. And I try to, you know, whichever one is the oldest in my collection, that's the one that I will use next. So I'm going to try the Ciate XXL Triple Shot Mascara. I also have the Trestique Mascara that also has a, I don't know, it has like an eyelash curler, which I find completely unusable, but it has a mascara in it as well. And then I also have a sample size of the Anastasia Lash Brag. And then speaking of lashes, I also have a backup of the Grande Lash, which I just started using. I bought that gift set that I felt like was a really good deal. I also have 3 eyeliners. I have a white. I'm not a fan of this one. It's the Maybelline Lasting Drama Light Liner, but I have it, so I'm going to use it up. And then I also have the e.l.f. No Budge Retractable Liner in black, which I don't mind. And then the Persona in, I don't know, it's in plum. Yeah, it's in the plum shade, which I really like. All the rest of these are concealers. I have the Glossier Stretch Concealer, which is one of my favorites. I prefer it more when we're not in the pandemic wearing a mask all the time because it's not transfer proof. But I do love it because you can wear it like as a foundation and it's really, really pretty. For a full coverage type of look, my favorite by far is the Milani Conceal and Perfect. You can wear this every day. You can wear it as a foundation. It's a pretty matte full coverage concealer, but if you use a little bit, it's not overwhelming or overbearing or anything like that. It's one of my favorites. You can use it for every day or not. It's kind of up to you. And then I have the Maybelline Fit Me, which is a really solid drugstore mascara, but if I was going to choose which one I think you would rather get, I think whether you have dry skin, oily skin, whatever, the Milani Conceal and Perfect is the best. And then lastly, this is no longer sold. It's the Born This Way Naturally Radiant Concealer. This was one of my favorite concealers for a super long time. I used to buy it over and over again. It's a super dewy, super gorgeous concealer. But like I said, it's not sold anymore, so once I'm out, I have no backups. So that is it for my concealers and my bits and bobs. So I do want to talk about this really quick because it was in my sentimental drawer. It's the Too Faced Carrying Big Blushing Bronzer, but it's broken and I don't use it. I literally only kept it for like the memories. So I am going to get rid of it because it's just taking up a lot of space and I only used it like one time. Okay, so for powder, I only keep 4 and honestly I would not repurchase all of these. The ones that I would repurchase for sure are the Cover FX Perfect powder in the shade Light. I just think it literally is the perfect powder. You can use it under your eyes. You can use it just to dust all over the face. It's just a gorgeous powder with multiple shades. I also really like the Ciate translucent powder. I think this is just a really solid translucent powder. I just don't know what the shade range is like, so I don't know if I can 100% recommend it. And neither of these I would actually repurchase. If you've been around for a while, you know that the Too Faced Primed and Poreless used to be my all-time favorite powder. And I've just kind of fallen out of love in general with pressed powders, but especially both of these because they don't come in multiple shades and I just don't feel like they're conducive to everyone. I've also repurchased the Too Faced Bye Bye Porous Pressed several times. Both of these are nice, but I would rather use loose powders and I would rather use and support brands that are more inclusive. So yeah, I would prefer these 2 powders. If I can find a pressed powder that's more inclusive, I would consider buying pressed powders again. Also, if you've been around here a long time, you know that bronzers have always been one of my favorite things ever, and there's not a whole lot here. So let's go over what we have. I have the Too Faced Milk Chocolate Soleil, which is the lighter shade. I do like that they have multiple shades of this bronzer, but the milk chocolate is my favorite, especially for the winter time when I'm a lot less pale. I'm obviously not going outside as much. My all-time favorite bronzer in general is the Marc Jacobs Tantastic Bronzer. I put pan on it, and basically what I do is like in the winter when I'm a little paler, I swirl it around and then like dab the excess off. But this is my favorite and I love it so much. I tried to repurchase one during the Sephora sale, but they were sold out, so no big deal. I also really like the Lawless Beauty bronzer. I don't remember what shade this one is, but I've almost hit pan on it. I've used this a ton and I really, really like it. Same type of situation. In the winter, I just swirl it and then dab off the excess. Again, if you've been around a long time, you know that cheek products in general are just my kryptonite. I'm going to talk about these in a second. But these are all my powder blushes, and all of these I give a wholehearted recommendation. I know I'm not getting rid of any of them. First is the Butter Blush in the shade Plum Rose. This is a great blush for 2 reasons. If you're pale, with a more pinky undertone and you really can't do bright pink blushes or warm blushes or anything like that, this is the perfect blush because it is a cooler toned blush, but it's not dramatically so. It has a slight shimmer to it, and I find that I can wear this with cool tone looks or with warm tone looks. It doesn't really matter. Kind of goes with everything. And the second reason I like it is you can use it if you've gone overboard with blush. You can kind of cool things down or tone things down with this blush. So it's one that I recommend. Again, if you're pale, everyone should have this in their collection. I also have the Wet n Wild Hummingbird blush in the shade Don't Flutter Yourself. I keep this around because it's kind of one of these, like it's a transformative blush. You can use it as a blush topper or a blush on its own. It's super shimmery, which I know intimidates a lot of people, but it just looks so pretty on the skin that I've never gotten rid of it. I also have the Milani Color Harmony blush in the shade Berry Rays, and as you can see, I've used this quite a bit, and it's just a soft pink peachy blush. And you can obviously use the different corners. I just like to mix it, and I really love shimmery blushes because they just give a really healthy sheen to the skin. A classic is the Milani blush in Luminoso. I'll just never get rid of this because I do think it's like one of the best blushes of all time. A good nude blush is the LA Girl blush in the shade Just Bare, and as you'll see, it's literally just like a nudie brown blush. None of these are swatching very well, and I think that that's like my fault because this looks amazing on the skin. It doesn't lean too cool, doesn't lean too warm. It's just a super nice, boring nude blush. For a little bit of a pinkier option, you have the e.l.f. Always Cheeky blush. This just has the most gorgeous formula and just the prettiest little like pink blush. I don't know, it's like perfectly matte, but it also has enough moisture that it looks really cute on the skin. And then lastly, I have the Burt's Bees blush in Toasted Cinnamon. This was one that Kathleen Lights used to talk about a lot, and I really like it. It's like an orangey peachy blush. I have to use a really light hand with it, but it's my most unique color, and I keep it around for that reason. I like to have a variety. I don't like to have the same thing. And you'll notice when I talk about pretty much any sort of color cosmetics, I've really narrowed down my collection to where like I have one of each thing and not like an overwhelmingly amount of something. I don't need like 6 of the same blush tones. I'd rather have several different ones because I'm obviously never going to go through blush anyway. So, and that's kind of why I wanted to make this video, because it's more of a bigger makeup collection that's way more realistic. Here we have highlighters and we have cream products. So I'm going to start with the highlighters. And again, like I mentioned before, I try not to have multiples of the same type of product, so you really won't see much overlap in the shades with these products. I have the Too Faced Blinded by the Light, which is a champagne-y silvery highlighter, which is amazing for pale skin. This makes your skin, I can't even describe how this looks on my skin. Every single time I wear it, I'm satisfied because it is more natural. You kind of have to build it up, but it looks so amazingly delicious like on the skin. It's just perfect. And then I have the Milani Strobe Light in the shade Afterglow, which is like their pinkier tone. And I narrowed down my collection to only have one of these pinky tone highlighters. It's not as dramatic. It's much more of like a matte highlight, but again, it looks so beautiful on the skin. The formula is much drier, but it still blends out beautifully and just, again, looks amazing on the skin. Next, I have the Anastasia Amrezy highlighter. This just looks like molten gold on the skin. It doesn't have any shimmer or anything like that, but it's just the most beautiful gold highlighter that I've basically ever seen. I love it so much. I'm so glad I got my hands on it before it sold out. If it ever comes back, I definitely recommend it. I'm not a big fan of being like, oh, you need to buy this, but like, it is really, really pretty, and I haven't found anything comparable, and I haven't felt the need to look because I already have the perfect highlighter. This is another gold highlighter. It's the Lawless Lucid Skin Highlighter in Afternoon Delight. But the difference I find with this is when I swatch it, it looks super, super gold, like it wouldn't look good on pale skin. But I feel like this is like, it doesn't have a lot of back pigment, so I feel like anyone could wear it. It's also a drier formula, whereas like this feels wet. The Lawless feels much drier on the skin, but it is still one of my favorite highlighters. As you can see, I've used a ton of it. It's one of my favorites. It's solid. I highly recommend it. And then I have the Fenty Beauty Kilowatt Foil in Sandcastle and Mint Mojito. And you're probably thinking this is the weirdest combo ever. I coveted this so hard. This highlighter is definitely a lot like Becca Opal, but it's a lot darker. I have to use a light hand or be super tan to wear it. And then the Mint Mojito I did not get for the cheeks. I got it more for the eyes, but I have worn this on my face for festivals and things. But it's just, it's so pretty, and I wanted it so badly because just the colors were perfect. I've used it for the eyes, I've used it for the face. It's just such a good duo. I think it's still available, so like if you're interested in it, I definitely recommend it. But just be warned, like if you're pale, you have to go in with a light hand, but I still find it to be like super, super beautiful and like well worth having. And next I have creams. I'm actually going to get rid of this. This is the Cover FX Custom Enhancer Drops, and I just don't need it because I've discovered this. This is the Milk Makeup Highlighter in Lit. This is so freaking pretty that I can't even begin to tell you. It just, I can't even swatch it. It does not swatch very well because it's just like a very not intensely colorful or pigmented highlighter, but it just makes your skin look healthy and glowy. It's just perfect. I got it in this month's IPSY bag again, and it's just perfect, and I love it so much. So I also have two Glossier blushes. I've talked about these in excess. I have a whole Glossier video, and I have the shade Puff and I have the shade Dusk. Everyone knows what they look like. These are good. These are some of the best liquid blushes ever. I've also recently tried this one. It's the Rare Beauty in Happy. And I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, don't think I meant to get Happy. I think I meant to get a different color. Nonetheless, it is a super, 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 super pigmented liquid blush. The good thing about this is all skin tones can wear it. And the way that I make it work is I either wear it under foundation or I will mix it with whatever foundation I'm using. But overall, I still think it's worth picking up. Whether, again, you're light or dark skin, because you're supporting a brand that really tried to be inclusive here, and I just appreciate that. So that is my cheek drawer and my powder drawer. So my last drawer is all of my eyeshadow palettes, face palettes, and liquid and single eyeshadows. Now, I have some up here too. This may seem excessive, and I think it is, but to be honest, I don't know. I don't feel like it's excessive because I've seen other people's makeup collections. So that's how I'm justifying it. The only oversized palette and really the only overtly colorful palette I have is the Morphe and James Charles palette, because I just feel like it's all you need in terms of like color. It has the neutral shades in the middle and then all the colors that I could possibly need. I love this eyeshadow palette. I think the quality is there, and I think it's overall really, really good. So you're not going to see me bashing this palette anytime soon. I really, really love it. So I'm going to try to divide this in a way that makes sense. So let's do it by brand, and let me start with brands that I only have one palette from. I have this Violet Boss palette. I don't even know what palette they consider this, but it has these little warm tones, and I got this in this month's IPSY, and the quality really surprised me. I think the quality is really good. They're super pigmented, but they blend really, really well. And while I think you can find these shades pretty much anywhere, I still think it's worth keeping, and it's small. It doesn't take up a lot of room, so for now, I'll be keeping this. I also have the Venice Fling Bailey times Estate Cosmetics palette. This is what inspired me to re-up my IPSY palette in general because I really wanted to support Bailey, and as you can see the colors are pretty similar. Like there's a few colors in here that are also in the Violet Voss palette, but again it's Bailey and it's unique enough that I don't feel bad keeping it, and I really like the quality of this as well. You know, I shouldn't really do this by brand that I only have one of because I think most of these I only have one of. I have the Aether Beauty palette. This is their Rose Quartz palette, and this is one that I coveted. I wanted so bad, and it doesn't disappoint. It blends super, super well, but the shadows are pressed harder in the pan than I'm sure that you're used to. This is definitely a pale girl friendly palette. I think you'd be disappointed if you were darker than like medium skin tone, but I still find this palette to be usable for me, and I think that they've come out with more inclusive palettes since this one. Next is let's do Lawless. This is the one palette. I have a whole video up on this one, and I really, really love it. It's like your perfect one and done eyeshadow palette. I don't know. I don't have much to say. I just think it's really pretty. It's really nice. It's fairly neutral, but it has like the purple tones, warm tones, neutral tones. So really, really love that. I think, yeah, this is the only Too Faced palette I have. I ended up keeping the Sweet Peach palette and getting rid of all of my other ones because this palette is just perfect to me. I love the peachy tones in here. I don't know. I don't have much to say because I think this is like one of the more perfect palettes that has ever come out. I only have one Tarte palette. It's the Tarte and Whitney Simmons palette, and I wouldn't say that the quality of this is like my all-time favorite, but again, I like to support my favorite influencers in some cases, and this is a really nice travel palette with like the highlighter, blush, and all that stuff, and the quality's good, so I'm not gonna complain. It's just like not my all-time favorite. I have the Juvia's Place, the Deuce, and this is one of my all-time favorite palettes ever. You can use this on the face, you can use it on the eyes, and it's just overall the perfect palette. They're pigmented enough that obviously if you're darker skin you can use these, but you can also use them if you're pale, and these colors are just so good. This is like one of my favorites to pull out in the springtime. I have one palette from Persona. It's the Identity palette, and these are like my favorite types of tones, like the mixes of the reds and the purples, a lot of shimmers, not a whole lot of mattes. Overall, this is just a good solid palette, and it's pretty usable for everyone. I am contemplating getting rid of this one. It's the Marvelous Mauves from Dose of Colors. And the past few times I've used it, I just haven't really been impressed by it and like haven't been like drawn to it since then. So I think I'm going to declutter it because my makeup collection is so curated that I want to be excited about everything I use, and this one just doesn't make me excited anymore. So I'm going to get rid of this one. Alright, everything else I have multiples. I have 2 or more. So let's actually let's start with e.l.f. I only have one e.l.f. palette. It's the Hot Jalapeno palette, and this is so good. Like if you just like greens, or if you're interested in trying green shades and you've never tried green shades before, this is a really good palette. These mattes are super pigmented, easy to blend, and these shimmers look really good on the eyes. So can't say enough good things about it. All right, let's start with ColourPop. You can't buy this anymore. It's the Sailor Moon ColourPop palette, and these shades, they're just so pretty. There's not really anything deep to like deepen anything up, but it's just like a fun palette to own. And I love this in the springtime, so I'll never get rid of it. I love Sailor Moon and I love this palette. I also have the Zodiac palette from Kathleen Lights and ColourPop, and again, another fun palette to have. This is one of my favorites from ColourPop as well. I really liked Dream Street, but my Dream Street was falling apart. I literally used it to death. And when I got rid of it, I wasn't even disappointed because I literally used it to the end of its day. I liked that one a lot more than this one, but that one's not available anymore, and I believe that this one still is. I still highly recommend it, and I would love to see them do another collaboration similar to Dream Street because I just loved Dream Street so much. Next is Urban Decay. I'll start with the Petite Heat. This is just a really good travel palette. It has everything that you could possibly need, and that's the big reason that I've kept it, is because I like things that are pretty mindless, and this is just mindless. Like you can just throw whatever on your eyes and it's gonna look good. And I feel the same way about this, even though this is no longer available. This is the original Naked palette. You can rip this out of my cold dead hands. I will never get rid of it because you can't buy it anymore, and I love it so much. It's just perfect in every way, and it looks so good, and I'm standing by that. All right, next we have my Anastasia palettes. I only have two. I have Subculture, which was quite controversial, but to be honest, I love the shades. Once you get used to how to use them, the shades are really, really beautiful. And each individual shade can be a one and done shade if you believe hard enough. And I love it. And then you can also mix and match. This is like the perfect fall tonal palette. So I really like it. I didn't understand the drama, but it is what it is. Next I have the Anastasia Sultry palette, and this is my go-to palette for occasions or dressing up. I mean, you don't have to use it for that. You can use it for kind of anything you want, but it's definitely my go-to for that specifically. The shimmers are perfect. They're super, super pigmented. Everything blends really well. It's exactly what you'd expect from Anastasia, and I feel like this was their last good palette, if I'm being honest with you. Lastly, I have my two Natasha Denonas. This one I mostly keep for the memories, but as you can see, I got a lot of use out of it. I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't even know if they sell this one anymore. I don't recommend this one as much as I recommend this one. This is the gold palette, and this is the best palette that I own, like hands down. Everything about it is perfect. Everything about it is perfect. I don't know. Like the mattes are perfect. The shimmers are perfect. Every single solitary thing about this palette is perfect. If you really suck at makeup and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do, you can divide all of these shades into quads and use them that way. You can just pop a shimmer on the lid, blend it out with a crease color. Like I can't even explain to you how good this palette is. Like it's just such a good palette, and I think everyone should own it. And I don't say that about expensive things very often, but I wholeheartedly believe that if you like the shades in here, like this could be your only palette and you'd be happy. This could be my only palette and I'd be happy. I'm going to super, super quickly talk about liquid shadows. I am going to get rid of the Glossier Lid Star because I don't like it as much as I like the Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize, which is a very, very similar shade. Let me just make sure it's not dried up. Yeah, it's not. This is like just the most beautiful taupey brown. This is in the shade Marie Antoinette, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I love this so much. It looks so pretty by itself or just as like an accompaniment to an eyeshadow, so highly recommend. I know they're pricey, but they're well worth it. And then the other one that I recommend is the Hourglass Scattered Light Glitter Shadows. I personally have the shade Blaze, and I don't necessarily know if I would recommend this shade. I like it. It's gorgeous. I just wish I had another shade because I don't wear it as often. But when I do wear it, I get so many compliments on my eyeshadow. I find that this works better with other shadows. And then lastly, I have the MAC Last Dance Dazzle Shadow. And I bought this because it was a dupe for this really, really pretty MAC shadow that came out. I believe it was in the Nutcracker collection. And it was so beautiful that it sold out in like seconds. So I never got my hands on it, but the lady recommended this one instead. It's sentimental. My husband bought it for me, so I keep it for mostly that reason. And then last but certainly not least, we have face palettes. I only have 5. The first one being the Tarteist Pro Glow palette. If you've been here a while, you know that I went through almost like a full size of this at one point. I really, really like it. I think it's a solid palette, but obviously it's not color inclusive, so keep that in mind. But I still like it and recommend it if you're like light or medium skin tone. Next is the Nicole Guerrero Glow Kit. This is the only glow kit that I still have from Anastasia. I really, really love it. I love it every single time I wear it. These are very, very intensely pigmented highlighters, so just like go into that knowing that. And they also don't have a whole lot of back pigment. I feel like anyone could wear these shades. Like they look super intense in the pan, intensely pigmented, but then when you put them on, they're very much like almost like a face gloss, and I think they look really, really pretty. So I think anyone could use this and like be okay. This is a pale girl friendly face palette, and I feel like it's one of these that, like, if you're pale and you're constantly like, oh, I don't want to buy face palettes because I can't use all the shades, this is for you. It's called the e.l.f. Total Face Palette. I can use every shade in here without dabbing anything off. The highlighter isn't a super like pigmented highlighter, but it still looks gorgeous on the skin. The blushes are pretty, the bronzer's pretty, and it's like 10 bucks. It's well worth it, especially like I said, if you have trouble finding a face palette that is conducive to your skin tone. Next, I have the Lovecraft Beauty blush palette. I don't know what it's called, but it's Althea, Dauphine, and Australia. I love this so much. I've used the crap out of it. I think these blushes are gorgeous. I think it's pretty skin tone inclusive, and it's just gorgeous. It's just a gorgeous palette. They're like an indie brand, which I like to support. And lastly, I have the Milani Flowers of Love Rose Powder Blush. And this has made it through so many declutters just because this is such a solid blush palette. It's just so good. They're not very pigmented like when you touch them, but something about putting these on a brush and putting these on your face just looks so good. And I think this was limited edition. I don't think they sell these anymore, or this set. But if they ever do, I believe they had multiple skin tone variations. So there's something for everyone. So I really loved this. So that's it for the makeup part. So if you're uninterested in anything but makeup, then I'll see you later. Next, I'm going to do brushes. I'm going to do brushes, perfume, and nail polish. So yeah, if this is it for you, bye. But otherwise, let's do brushes next. Okay, I changed my tune because I think that brushes are just going to have to be their own separate videos. So I'm instead going to go ahead and declutter my nail polishes and then perfumes. This whole nail polish situation for me is like difficult because I love nail polish so much, but I have so many that have either gone bad or I just don't like them anymore, and so like when I do use them, I'm disappointed. I'm going to get rid of a lot here, I think. I'm keeping the Nailtopia polish in the shade Belle Baby. It looks like St. Clair from Kathleen Lights, which is like one of my favorites. I'm going to keep pretty much all my KO polishes until they go bad, so just prepare yourself for that. This is in the shade Mozart. This one is in the shade Lumiere. This one is in the shade Brick Sidewalk. This is a new one. This is from Misha Beauty, and it's in the shade Unbothered, and I actually really like this nail polish and this formula, so I will be keeping it. I have the shade Miss Kensington from Kale Polish, and then Dream Boy, Snickerdoodle. This is from Essie. This is one of their gel coutures. This is in the shade Pinned Up. I found that I can't use it without the top coat, and I'm not using the top coat right now, but I probably will in the future, so I'm keeping that. This is Kale Polish in the shade Cozy in there. I really like this color. It's from LA Girl. It's their gel polish in the shade Eden, and it's super pretty. It does take quite a few coats to build up, but it's so stinking worth it. This is Kale Polish in Tuxedo Mask. And then this is the Essie color in the shade VI Please, which I really like this color, especially for the fall. This is one of the only Kale Polish colors that I don't like, so I will be getting rid of it. It's in the shade 305. I just don't find that it stays very long, and I don't really like the color of it. I'm going to get rid of this. It's the Sally Hansen Insta-Dry in the shade Grape Shifter, and it's pretty dry, and I don't love the way it looks. This is Kale Polish in the shade November. This is another Kale Polish that I'm not really a fan of. It's in the shade MIA, and it's super similar to this one, but it doesn't last as long as the LA Girl, so I'm going to get rid of that. Kale Polish in the shade Porter Miami. Kale Polish in the shade Taurus. Essie Rock the Runway. And then I don't really like this color either, and I have a Loud Lacquer that's pretty similar, and it's in the shade Hyponautical. Don't love it. Not keeping it. I'm also not going to keep this Insta-Dry, but I got like half a bottle of use, so I'm not mad. It's in the shade Tutti Frutti. This is Kale Polish in the shade Miss Honey. Kale Polish in the shade Broccoli and Chocolate. Kale Polish in the shade Pistachio Ice Cream. I'm getting rid of this. It's from the brand Sundays. It's too much like pistachio ice cream to justify, and I don't like the formula as much. And then Kale Polish Wishbone. And then I have the Bailey collab. I don't know where my teal color is, but I'm sure I'll find it eventually. I have the shade Giulia, which is like a really pretty purple. I have Saint. I have Antidote, and I'm wearing that pretty teal on, so. Okay, last but not least, perfume. This should be super, super easy. I'm going to start with these minis because a lot of these, like, I just keep for no reason. I'm getting rid of all roller balls because I hate roller balls and I don't like keeping them because I don't use them. So I'm getting rid of the Versace Bright Crystal and Elizabeth and James Nirvana Bourbon. Even though I love the scents, they're in roller balls and I don't like roller balls. I'm gonna keep these from the brand Scent. This is Ash Nordman's brand if you follow her on Instagram. She does a whole lot of fear mongering with like chemicals and fragrances that I'm really not a fan of, so I probably wouldn't purchase the full size of these, but while I have them, I do want to enjoy them. I think I liked this. This is the Pure Musk Narcisco Rodriguez for her. I think I was really impressed with the way this smells, so I want to keep it. I also have Flower Bomb by Viktor Rolf. I want to keep that because I love Flower Bomb. And then Elizabeth and James Nirvana White I want to keep because I think it smells really good. I like this, but there's like one squirt left and it's not worth it. It's the Kat Von D Saint. Saint and Sinner Mixed is like one of my favorite perfume combinations ever, but I stopped supporting her brand, so I never bought the full size. But we're not going to dwell on that. This is Jo Malone Poppy and Barley, which I really, really enjoy, so I am going to keep that. This is Not a Perfume by Julian Has a Gun. I used to like this, but I don't know. Yeah, I still like it. I'm going to keep it. And I'm also getting rid of the Viva La Juicy Glacé because even though I love the juicy scents, they don't last on the skin. So spoiler here. Alright, for full-size perfumes, I know for sure I want to keep Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. And I also know I'm going to keep Glossier You. There's a lash stuck to this. That's disgusting. These are like two of my favorites, so I'm definitely keeping those. This does not last on me. It's C Passion from Giorgio Armani. I got this in PR and I love the scent of it, but it doesn't last on the skin and that really irks me, so I'm getting rid of it. I was keeping Dolce & Gabbana La Lune for sentimental purposes, but it's super, super old and those sentimental reasons are no longer, so I'm getting rid of this. And I'm kind of torn on this because while I really love the scent, it doesn't last very long, which is why I had a smaller one, because basically what I would do is like if I wore this, I'd keep this in my purse. Maybe I will do that. Just kidding. I'm keeping both of these. Okay. Like I said, I'm getting rid of all roller balls except for the Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue one because I have the bigger scent, so I can keep this in my purse. This is the Calvin Klein Eternity Now. I never really reach for this, so I don't really want to keep it, but it does smell good. It smells good. I'm keeping it. Holy crap, that smells good. I am getting rid of CK2 because it's a roller ball, even though I love the scent of this. Tyne & Sinks describes this as like rain on wet concrete in the humid air, and like that's exactly how I describe it as well, but it's a roller ball. I don't like roller balls, so I'm getting rid of that. I'm also getting rid of the La Vanille, the healthy fragrance. I really like this fragrance, but it's a roller ball. Again, I don't like roller balls. And I'm keeping all these, but I just want to talk about them. This one is Chloe, the original Chloe. I love it so much. It makes me feel like I am rich and I'm going to steal your husband in a second. Replica by the Fireplace is one of the most gorgeous scents for like when you just want to lay at home and feel comfy. So I'm keeping it. Both of the Ariana Grande perfumes are pure perfection. Cloud just smells so delicious. And then Ariana Grande REM, the way that I would describe it is it's like lush, sleepy with like a hint of vanilla or caramel. That's how I describe it. I stand by that. If you've been missing Lilu by PacSun, I recommend by Rosie Jane Layla Lu. This smells exactly how I remember Lilu smelling, except for that I must not like it as much as I thought I did. It was really disappointing because I smelled it and immediately was like, oh my god, this is Lilu. And it's like a grown-up Lilu, but I just don't like it as much, which makes me really sad. But I'm still keeping it because of the memories. That's it. That's all. My voice is gone. So, and I also have to go to the gym. So thank you so much for watching. I like sucked in that perfume, huh? Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.
When you're with me, baby, don't you see that I'm shining? 'Cause when you're with me, baby, don't you see that I'm shining?